Today we're going to be learning about trig ratios. And the thing about trig ratios is they only work if you're looking at right triangles. The other kinds of triangles wouldn't work with trig ratios. So I'm going to draw you a right triangle. I'm going to label it with angle letters, so X, Y, Z. And then I'm going to switch colors so we can do some labeling. We know that the right angle always points to the hypotenuse. So we're going to label that H for hypotenuse. And if we're talking about angle Z, then the side that touches angle Z is going to be labeled A, and that A stands for adjacent. The side that's the farthest away from Z is going to be labeled O, and that O stands for opposite. Now there are three trig functions. The three trig functions you can find over here in your Desmos Scientific Calculator. That sin looks like sin. It really is standing for sine. The cos over here stands for cosine, and the tan stands for tangent. So sine, cosine, and tangent. Now there's a kind of an acronym way to remember what sides you're looking at for sine and what sides you're looking at for cosine and what sides you're looking at for tangent. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. And I'm going to just write it short like this. S equals O over H. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and I'm going to write that, kind of abbreviated. C equals A over H. And T equals O over A. Tangent equals opposite over adjacent. The way you can say it, it sounds a little weird, but SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA is the way to remember this. Say they ask you to find sine of angle Z. So find sine of angle Z. Well, we've already labeled everything, and we look back and we remember from SOHCAHTOA that sine needs the opposite over the hypotenuse. So say that O was 3, and the A was 4, and the hypotenuse was 5. Well then, you would say, okay, O is 3, and H is 5. So this would be 3 over 5, and you found sine of Z. Say we wanted to do cosine of Z. We look back here at our little key. From SOHCAHTOA, we know that C needs A's and H's. So A over H would be 4 over 5. And lastly, if we wanted to find the tan of Z, that would be, look at our key, we need T, and that needs an O on the top and an A on the bottom. O is 3, and A is 4. So it would be 3 over 4. Okay, the only thing left to do here would be a little bit of division. 3 over 5 means 3 divided by 5. So you could come on over here to your calculator and let's clear everything, and we'll go 3 divided by 5, and that equals 0.6. Usually when they have you write these decimals that are the equivalent of the trig ratios, you want 4 digits after the decimal. So since there's nothing, I'm going to write 0.600 and one more 0. Okay, now if we're going to do the cosine of Z, it's 4 divided by 5. So we can come over to our calculator and go 4 divided by 5. And that equals 0.6. 0.8, but again, we need 4 digits, 1, 2, 3, 4, so we need some zeros there. So 0.8000. Our tangent is 3 over 4, so we'll go 3 divided by 4. Whoops. Struggling here. 3 divided by 4. And that equals 0.75. So 0.75. And you need 4 digits after that decimal point, so a couple more zeros. All right. So that's a quick little explanation. Let's get into our assignment and we'll see how that goes and how we can apply it. So before we start this assignment, we probably want to write our little key so that we can have something to refer to. Remember, we'll just write SOHCAHTOA. S equals O over H, C equals A over H, and T equals O over A. Okay, number 1 asks us to find the tangent of A. So I'm going to first make an arc around the angle A, and then I'm going to go label my sides. The right angle points to the hypotenuse, so 34 gets to be H. The angle is touching the side which is labeled 16, so A touches that 16 side. Adjacent means touching, so that's one way you can think about it. Another way you can think about it is the angle is always sandwiched between the hypotenuse and the adjacent. So if you remember, do H first and then A and have the angle in between. You won't make a mistake that way. The farthest side away from it is the O, so 30 gets to be O. Tangent is what we're talking about. If you look back at our key, tangent needs O over A. So we're going to go look at O, that's 30, and A is 16. So tangent of A equals 30 over 16. Now we take that over to our calculator and we go 30 divided by 16. Okay, 30 divided by 16 is 1.875, and remember we need one more digit, so we're going to just add a 0. And that's done. Now let's go look at the next one. Number 3 asks you to find sine of z. So sine of z, remember we look back at our key to remind ourselves that sine needs an O and an H. So got to get some labels on these sides. First, let's make an arc over angle z, because that's the angle we're talking about. And the right angle points to the hypotenuse, so label that H. Remember, the angle we're talking about is sandwiched between H's and A's. So the adjacent side here is 16, and the 12, the side 12 is the farthest away, so that gets to be O. Sine, if you go back to our key, the sine needs an O and an H. So we're going to do 12 over 20. Okay, and now we can just take this over to our calculator and we'll go 12 divided by 20. And that equals 0.6. And then we do need 4 digits after the decimal, so add zeros. Okay, let's do one more like this. This one on number 5 talks about sine of z. So we'll mark angle z so that we remember what angle we're talking about. We'll also go mark across from the right angle gets to be hypotenuse. And then on the other side of the angle we're talking about, that gets to be A. Now O will be the one that's farthest away. Okay, so if we do sine of C and we look up at our key, sine needs O's over H's, so O over 50 would be 48 over 50. And we can do the division. And that equals 0.96. Add 2 more zeros to get 4 digits beyond the decimal point. Now they won't always be in this configuration. Let's see if we can find one that changes things around. Let's look at our number 16. Number 16 might look a little bit different because you're used to having that bottom left corner be the angle you're talking about. Number 16 looks at tangent of x, and x is on the top here, and so that's going to shift things around. The one thing that always stays the same is that the right angle always points to the hypotenuse, and no matter where the angle is, it will be sandwiched between the hypotenuse and the adjacent. So this 20 becomes the adjacent side, and then that last side is our opposite, the farthest side away. So if we look back at our key, a tangent needs an opposite over an adjacent. TOA on SOHCAHTOA, opposite over adjacent. So it's going to be 15 over 20. So 15 over 20. And you can do that division over on your calculator. 15 divided by 20. And that's going to be 0.75, so 0.75, and you need 2 more digits to complete it. All right. Now we get to do something a little bit different. Starting with number 17, they ask you to do the sine of 21 degrees. So in this one, you can use the sine button on your calculator and put in 21 degrees. And you can see that you have a great big long decimal. Again, we only want the 4 digits beyond the decimal point. So you might have to round. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. That 3 is in the 4th spot. In the 5th spot, you have a 6. Remember that the rule of thumb is if it's 5 or bigger, you get to round up. If it's 4 or less, you just stay the same. You don't round down, you just stay the same. So this would be 0.358, and then the 6 makes the 3 go up to a 4. So the answer here is 0.3584. Okay, now let's practice 19 together. We're going to use the cosine button because it wants cosine of 20. So cosine of 20. And looking at 4 digits beyond, we have 0.9396, and the 5th digit is a 9. The 9 will make that 6 go up to a 7, so the 0.9397 would be your answer. Okay, one more. All right. Number 21 asks for the tangent of 17 degrees. So we're going to use the tangent key and put in 17, and it gives you that it's 0.357 and so on. 0.3057, and look at the 5th number. That 5th number is only a 3, so it has to stay at a 7, can't go up to an 8. So 0.357. Oop, left out a 0. All right, there we go. So 0.3057, and then that one's done. So hope you don't have too much of a hard time with any of these. If you do, email me, but all the ones I didn't do for you are assigned. and best of luck. Talk to you later. Bye.